Hey, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Yes, you read the title right. Today, we're going to have an open and honest conversation about a business that I used to own. So you could call it my ex-business. We're going to talk about how you can, yes, make £2,000 every single week. But firstly, you've got to sort out your taxes and deal with your workers and stuff like that. Well, if you get it right, you can make a lot of money doing this business. So stay tuned and we're going to get right into it. Yeah, I still left £2 right behind me. Firstly, I'm going to get a bunch of people probably say, oh, how can you make £2 a week with no startup costs, with no capital, blah, 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 blah. Right, budget, you need £0. I started this with zero pounds. Obviously, as time went on and I made more money out of the business, I reinvested back into the business. So what business is it? It's a cleaning company. Some of you may already know, some of you that know me more personally may already know that I used to own a cleaning company. I still own part of it, probably around 15% of the contracts are still left within my possession. But I sold it all last year. Why, you may think? If I'm being honest, I sold it for a number of reasons. I got a lot of things wrong with it, hence why I'm being open and honest with you guys on this channel. I based my business around a core of big contracts, and once I lost one or two of those, it started becoming a problem. That's one of the reasons why I sold it. The second reason why I sold it was I didn't have enough passion to be within that industry. I mean, it's great. It's great in terms of the financial return, but for me, I'm getting to a stage in life where I want to balance financial return with what I actually love doing. And the honest truth is, I actually didn't love doing it. And then thirdly, I just wanted to get onto other things. I think I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I like opening businesses and like moving on after a little while. It's probably a bad habit of mine as well, but it's probably because I haven't come across something that I am totally in love with. And that's very important. So that's the why of me selling it. Over to two main things when it comes to cleaning. There's two sides, there's residential and there's commercial. Me, I was more focused on the commercial side of things. Towards the end, I tried to get into the residential, but for me, there wasn't, I'm not gonna say there wasn't enough money in it, but going from commercial to residential is quite a step. You know, I go from earning, say, on average of £600 a month from one client, maybe earning £40 a month from one client. So it just wasn't, I wasn't too keen on it. But anyways, I'm going to try and make this video snappy, but informative. If you need me to elaborate on anything, then just drop me an email and I could help you out with that as well. So, what was I doing? I owned a cleaning company that predominantly operated in the central London area. We done a bunch of window cleaning. We had contracts with law firms. We had contracts with the local council. We had contracts with, you name it, your favorite retail store. We had contracts with them. So that's what I done for a period of 5 years, right? Yeah, 2014 all the way to 2019. And around November 2019, I thought it's time to pack up. I packed up and I sold most of the business. It's a really, really good business to start. What I will say, where you lack in finance in terms of startup cost, you should make up with regards to having a gift of the gab, because it's a lot of persuasion and it's a lot of going around and hunting for contracts and underhand industry tactics and so on and so forth. So I'm going to break the video down into several sections. First one being how I grew my company. So here you could learn everything I've done to take my company from earning nothing to earning around £8,000 every single month. Then we're going to talk about pricing strategy. I'm going to give you a few gems in those. Then we're going to talk about a legal requirement. Are you legally bound to do anything prior to starting this company or whilst you've started this company? And then finally, if you stay right to the end, we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts. You really don't want to miss that, because I will be dropping a lot of info and content in that section as well. So how did I do it? How did I grow my company? It was simple. Where I lacked in finances in terms of being able to invest in a company, I made up with a gift of the gab, essentially speaking. So what I used to do, I started off with window cleaning. So what I used to do, I used to go out to Oxford Street in the morning, very early in the morning, when all the window cleaners were out. And I used to observe. I used to literally walk around and observe all the work being done. I used to pick holes in it. I criticized the job. I said, look, if I owned this store, what would I be happy with and what wouldn't I be happy with? And also, afterwards, I then went into the stores. I understood how much they were paying for the window cleaner, and then I made them a better offer. So in essence, I out-hustled, outsmarted, and just, used some underhand tactics, which has allowed in business to get those contracts. So that's how I started off initially. Eventually, obviously, there are portals where you can, once you're big enough, there are portals where you then go on and, you bid for contracts and you go through the procurement process and so on and so forth. One of these being Ted Europa, it's beautiful. So you'd always have contracts up there pretty much every day from like different parts of the country. You've got Delta sourcing, you've got your local councils, you've got, the traditional way of marketing as well, which is obviously shooting out emails and getting on the phone and so on and so forth. So that's how you grow the company with the commercial side of things. Subsequently, once you start rolling in a few contracts through this method, you probably want to start thinking about your marketing strategy and your branding. I mean, you should already have a business plan, and you should already have that in your business plan, but you can start small and then grow it. So think about your marketing strategy. How else are you going to market your business? You might be slightly more creative than me. So how are you going to market your business? How are you going to get the right branding out there? So a few things for you to probably bear in mind, like uniform. I had them all wear uniform. I had them all have like ID cards with their picture and my company name on it, stuff like that. That's what I mean in terms of branding, the branding piece. It goes a long way, because then what happens is you see a neighboring commercial store that would take your number and call you because simply they're probably not happy with their current cleaning arrangement, and they've seen your workers dealing with another store and they've already got the company uniform. So that's important. Another way I grew my business was through customer services. I offered customer services that was superior to what the industry standard was. I can't go ahead and poach these places and then come in and do a bad job. It's just not feasible. So a few of the ways that I ensured that obviously my guys were held to a higher standard when they were working was I had things like customer satisfaction surveys. When I sent out my invoices, I sent out surveys alongside them. So, if there's anything going wrong, the clients would usually just chuck it all on the customer survey and send it back to me. I literally led from the front. So I used to go down there sometimes, demonstrate how to clean the windows, demonstrate how to clean the office, demonstrate just several areas of the work that I just didn't feel they were doing good enough. And the clients used to love seeing me there as well. And I made it a point of contact to visit all my clients at least once a month. That really helped massively with building a relationship with these clients. And I was doing all of this whilst I was working 45 hours a week. I was working full-time back then. So there's absolutely no excuses. On to the next one. Behind the scenes, you got to do what I call performance enhancement tasks. So things like, flyering when you've got time to. These are traditional methods of building a business, and it's no different. So flyering when you've got time to go out, show your flyers to businesses that may be interested in the services you have to offer. Another way, or what I done as well, was I had targets. So like on a weekly basis, I would make 45 phone calls to estate agents. I'd make 45 phone calls to other businesses. I used to have my emails automated, so I'd build up the email and it would send out every day on Monday at 9 a.m. and perhaps on Thursday as a follow-up to those that haven't opened it. So there are ways of doing this. If you need more information, then obviously drop me a message. My contacts is in the description box, and I'm more than happy to elaborate on that. Moving on, another way that I then grew my business, or I'd say the final way, hopefully I'm not missing out on anything, but the final method that I used to grow my business was once I mastered the window cleaning side of things, which was my introduction to the industry, I started offering other services. I started offering pavement treatment. I started offering office cleaning. I started offering building restoration, and eventually I gradually went into residential. So that's what you can do. Whatever angle you're coming from, you can always expand into other areas of cleaning. So in this section, we'll talk a bit around pricing your job and a few other bits surrounding it. So how do you price your job in an industry where you have no knowledge? You have no guidance, there's nothing to go by, and there's an interested client or potential client. So what I will do is I'll go up to the client and I'd say, great to hear that you're interested in us taking over your cleaning services. If you don't mind me asking, how much are you paying at the moment? And potentially, I might be able to save you some money on the P&L. and usually they'll give me a ballpark figure, and I could tweak this and use that to put in a quote to that client. Alternatively, another cheeky way of doing it is I would call up a competitor. So I would see who's operating in the area, and I'll call them up and say, look, I'm the general manager for so-and-so store. The size of my store is this size, and I want a quote on how much it would be to clean my windows 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And they would send me the quote, and then I'll use that quote, tweak it a bit, and send to my potential client. So that's another way you do your pricing. Window cleaning in general is a very profitable business, and the reason why I say this is it's a business that you build up of soap and water. It's literally that simple. And if you tweak a few things as well around and behind the scenes, then you could probably squeeze more money out of the business. An example being, I used to have contractors rather than employees, so I'd have self-employed contractors. That way they dealt with their taxes and there was less hassle on me, and it was just easy to just run the business and just grow the business. So on to the next stage, legal requirement. What are you required to do when you run a cleaning business? So a few things. Most importantly is you need to get a public liability insurance, especially if you want to go out and get some big contracts. It's rare that anyone except the small stores would even give you the time of day if you don't have a public liability insurance. But this isn't expensive. It will cost you about £200 a year. Starting off, I didn't have it, but as soon as I started shooting for the bigger contracts, I went ahead and got it. And it gives you that peace of mind as well, because then you could be there knowing that if anything happens whilst your workers are out cleaning, they're fully protected, your client is protected as well, and it sets you at a higher level than the ordinary cleaners. Right, the next thing being your taxes. So deal with your taxes, make sure you have an accountant, but to start with, you don't need to register as a company. You could start as a sole trader, and then once you see that it's working, you could go ahead and incorporate the company and then go from there. So for those of you that are probably wondering how I deal with my invoices, I use an app called QuickBooks, and it's so easy. I literally just chuck it all on QuickBooks, and when it's time to do my accounting, I just forward it all onto my accountant. So that's that. And then finally, do's and don'ts. Number 1, make sure you have a reliable worker or reliable workers. This can literally be the reason why your business takes off or the reason why your business tanks. You choose. Reliable workers, because at the end of the day, people are never going to do things as good as you would do it. So if you go down the route of running it as a business and having other people work for you, make sure you put some checks and balances in place to make sure that they're reliable, they're punctual, and most importantly, they do a great job, because that goes a long way. That would get you referrals, and that would keep your current clients happy. So that's number 1. Number 2, make sure, this is probably the most important, make sure you lock all your customers or clients into contracts. The reason being, by the way, especially your big ones, I should say. The reason being, if you don't lock them into contracts, if someone like me comes along, I would clean all your clients out, because they have no incentives to stay with you. If I offer them a better quality of service or a cheaper service with the same quality, they're more than happy to go with me. Whereas if you have them all in a contract, then they're bound by law to remain with you until that contract's over, unless you have a break clause in the contract. I used to have my big clients on anywhere from a 3 to a 7 year contract. 7 was rare. It was usually 3 to a 5 year contract, and that really helped me. It helps you manage your P&L as well, because the last thing you want to do is just lose a contract like that. Like one day you have a job and the next day you don't, because you don't have a contract. So don't be that person. Get them all in a contract. On to the next one. Still related to contracts, make sure you write up your contract with the right terminology. If you need help, drop me an email in the comments. Drop me an email in the description section, and I'll be able to help you with this. In fact, I'm going to share some of my contracts up right now. But yes, it's important to get the contracts with the right terminologies, because if you don't get this right, again, it will cause you problems in the future. In your contract, make sure you add things like late payment clauses. What happens if, there's a dispute between yourself and the client? It's all important that you add these on as well. And then finally, send out your invoices on time. The last thing you want to do is restrict your cash flow to your own business by sending out late invoices, because then you set the standards for how your clients are going to treat you, and it's also very unprofessional. But anyways, I hope you love this. I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a channel where I'm open and honest and where I can share things with you guys and we could all learn together. I'd appreciate if you do come across this channel, just drop me a subscription, subscribe. Yeah, that's what I mean. Pop a comment down as well. If you need any help, email me, and most importantly, like the video and share it around your social media. Thank you for staying right till the end, for those of you that did, and I'll see you again next week. What should I do next week? I tell you what I might do next week. I said I was going to do it last week, but I didn't. I am going to do a vlog on my top 5 books to read in 2020. These are the books that I read last year, and these are the books that are currently guiding me. But yeah, stay tuned. See you again next Sunday at 6 p.m.
I'm a Buffy and I got a beard like Santa. It's only right that I slayed you. Step to the rave scene, didn't